We are one game from the Super Bowl, actually 2 games, but 1 game on either side of the bracket, AFC side, NFC side. Who makes it to the Super Bowl? We got some ideas. We'll go over them in a bit.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
All right, we are here. It is Broncos Patriots on Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And it's the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback. Now, I talked to Jarrett yesterday, Bloom, and he's very calm, very steady. He's not too wide-eyed with all the attention that is now on him. And I got to tell you, the media scrum, it was probably 3 times as big as it normally is, maybe even 4 times as big as it normally is. This is monumental. The Broncos get there with that win over the Bills. They do it, though, with Bo Nix going down with that ankle injury. Now it's Jarrett Stidham's time. Stidham hasn't played in 2 years, 4 starts in his career. He runs a lot. He uses play action a lot. He takes a lot of sacks, a lot more than Bo Nix. He needs to cut down on that if he wants to beat the New England Patriots coming into the Mile High City. Let's talk about this. J.K. Dobbins, we're recording, or I guess we're live Thursday morning. What's up, everybody on YouTube? J.K. Dobbins is limited. He looked good. He was very confident yesterday. There are people, Mike Kliss being one, says he's a long shot just for the Super Bowl, let alone the AFC Championship. But it would be huge if that team had a back that they could trust, because clearly after the last game, Bo Nix had 12 carries against the Bills. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's probably one of the reasons why he got hurt, because they kept running the ball, and it was a run play that he got hurt on. I'm not playing the what-if game, Bloom. Let's be present. Let's talk about these Broncos, and they're the home team, and they're the home dogs with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback.
Yeah, I love it, Cease. It's a Broncos show, so we're actually doing the home team first in the AFC Championship. No, but because it is the biggest story, right? Jarrett Stidham. And I feel pretty confident. Now, notice that this is based on perceptions. It's based on expectations. I think Jarrett Stidham will easily outproduce expectations. Now, expectations are low, okay?
Yes.
But, so that's why it's easy for me to say that confidently, Cease. But here's the thing. He's been with the team with Sean Payton for 3 years, right? He replaced Russell Wilson at the end of the 2023 season, and he was competent. He looked like a quarterback that could do what the coach, the offensive scheme, the play designs intended. Maybe not with great proficiency or adding great talent, but just he wasn't overwhelmed. And they signed him to a 2-year deal. So Sean Payton signed him to a 2-year deal. And then when his contract was up this offseason, they signed him to another 2-year deal. So Sean Payton is telling us, like, this particular guy of the backup quarterbacks out there, I can riff with him. This guy, we work together. And how much of the great plays, and to take nothing away from Bo Nix, because in some ways the saddest thing here, Cease, is this overshadows Bo Nix rising to the occasion. We talked about it in the preview. All he had was a conference championship. I can't even keep straight the names of the conferences anymore, Cease. It was a conference championship against Michael Penix. And he lost, but he played really well. Well, this was a much bigger stage than that, and he was the reason Denver won. Don't look at the 4 turnovers. The 4 turnovers don't matter if Bo Nix doesn't make those plays. And he's making the plays, but did you notice that the plays, I think he was running the plays as designed. I think some of the biggest plays, like the little Jordan Humphrey touchdown, I mean, that's a play design. Little Jordan Humphrey's not some great separation speed demon. It's just the play worked. And I think some plays are going to work with Jarrett Stidham. And then see the other thing, and let's talk about Troy Franklin being limited in practice. Pat Bryant, I hope, my heart kind of shudders a little bit. Like, I hope it's okay that he's back. I hope it is. But if you have Troy Franklin and you have Pat Bryant and you have Marvin Mims and you have Courtland Sutton, I think Colston Loveland, because we're talking about rodeo. The rodeo here in Denver, there's a lot of targets to use in matchups, to use in play designs. Evan Ingram, these guys, if you add to that, like you said, Cease, J.K. Dobbins now giving you some metal in the running game between the tackles, Now you have the elements of an offense. This team has already done this when they had the corpse of Peyton Manning at quarterback and won a Super Bowl, right? The defense the defense can say, like, we got this. Like, just don't make any mistakes. Like, number one, no turnovers. I think if we get no turnovers from the Denver offense in this game, they're going to win. So, and Jarrett Stidham, he's been practicing for this, literally practicing for this for 3 years. He'll be ready.
Yeah, he will be ready. On the flip side, Drake Maye is going to be tough to deal with. So is Hunter Henry. So is Ramondre Stevenson. The receivers we can talk about because can Riley Moss hang with, Stephon Diggs, likely Kayshon Boutte versus Pat Surtain. Diggs, they'll move around the formation. Surtain won't travel with Diggs. My opinion, maybe he totally does, whatever. Hunter Henry's the big thing. They can't stop a tight end. Drake Maye can use his security blanket, and Maye's going to be tough to deal with because he's got the big arm. He can run around. It's similar to what they faced with Josh Allen. He is turning the ball over. 6 fumbles in 2 games, 3 lost, 2 picks, 10 sacks. So if the Broncos want to win this one, it takes a Herculean defensive effort, but it's going to take that because Drake Maye and company is really effing good.
Yeah, this is where we see what Drake Maye can do in a situation where all eyes are on him and has gotten them this far. By the way, I want to mention one last postscript. Zach Kerr, again, for the second week in a row, the Patriots defense made smoke come out of the ears of the quarterback they were facing. Now, CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert, but behind a poor offensive line. So that's going to be something that Sean Payton's going to have to kind of get. I mean, that's a Sean Payton question more than it's a Jarrett Stidham question, because it sounds like they've been doing a lot of deception with their coverages and things like that. And then that's where we come back to Vance Joseph in Denver. And what can they do? Because with this New England offense, let's tip our caps to the Chargers defense. Yes. And let's say, hey, yeah, Texans defense, you put 28 on them. Oh, and now we're starting to talk.
Right.
And throwing downfield to Kayshon Boutte against Derek Stingley. So don't tell me about Patrick Surtain, because as Ramondre Stevenson pointed out, great video, Cecil. Ramondre Stevenson on the sideline says, oh, Drake Maye threw that exact pass for a touchdown against the Texans to Kayshon Boutte last year against Derek Stingley Jr. So like players remember this stuff, right?
Yes.
Like Maye, Boutte, Stingley, they understood this, and they went and they did it again, and they completed it again. So that tells me that Josh McDaniels is confident, Drake Maye is confident, and they have, like you said, Hunter Henry. That's going to be a problem. And maybe even Austin Hooper. That's going to be a problem for Denver. I think this is a game where Denver is also vulnerable to the Travion Henderson long touchdown run.
Yes.
I think that even if Travion Henderson has 15 carries for 15 yards, get him carry number 16. Remember, this happened twice this year, and they lost the game against Buffalo where it happened, where Travion Henderson can break loose. And then you have Ramondre Stevenson as an X factor in the passing game. So you put all these things together, and this New England team is confident on both sides of the ball. They're being coached well. And this is, in some ways it's a surprise, I guess, because we were looking at the Houston defense, or we were looking at the Josh Allen. Like, what's the strongest force? The Denver defense in the AFC bracket. And it ends up really, it's the Patriots' organizational clarity under Mike Vrabel. And that's one of the funny things too, Cecil, is we're here talking about the conference championships. The most fascinating stuff to talk about football right now is the hiring and firing cycle, and particularly how it reflects ownership and how it reflects perceptions of failure. And let's remember that Mike Vrabel was hired this year, like this season. And it was so predictable, and the Patriots are running it back. And this team picked 4th last year, and now we're looking at them as a team at the cusp of going to the Super Bowl. And this sets up to be a fantastic game. And Cease, I think it's really fun to think about the last Denver New England conference championship, and how again how much these teams have changed, and what things we can draw a straight line from those teams to these teams. I think Mike Vrabel is that for New England. I think the defense is that for Denver. And I get chills when I think, we're going to see the next chapter of this story and find out for these two teams. What has this season really been all about?
What has it been all about and who wins? No, I'm not picking Denver because I'm a homer and I do radio and I want to go to the Super Bowl. But Broncos win this one. It got very, very, very difficult when Bo Nix goes down. If Bo Nix wasn't down, my confidence would be through the roof. If I knew J.K. Dobbins was playing and Bo Nix wasn't down, my confidence would be through the roof. It's not through the roof, but I do believe Denver wins. They're going to be a tight one, something like 23-20. Last second Will Lutz field goal, something like that. I got the Broncos going to the Super Bowl, Bloom. How about you?
Oh, man. I see 16-13. I see Will Lutz and Andres Borregales. Maybe it come down to one of those players, because I in my mind's eye, when I continue to think about Jarrett Stidham and how the whole football world, look at the spread and all this stuff, and how I think everybody overreacted to that. And I think that it's up to Mike Vrabel to not allow that to creep into the minds of the Patriots, that somehow this game is going to be easier because they should expect to win. And I think the key that stood out for me the last week, other than the pick six, I believe, don't quote me on any of these specifics, but there was something like the Patriots forced 5 turnovers from CJ Stroud, and they got 7 points, the pick six, that was it. They didn't turn any of those other turnovers into points. And I wonder if that losing, their defense was so good, CJ Stroud was so bad, Drake Maye made plays. But I wonder, because that's what happened to Buffalo, is they let too many opportunities slip away, made too many mistakes. And because of that, and like I said, I'm going to say Denver 16-13, but it's going to be a nail biter. And I think it's going to be a game that it's going to be a defensive game. It's going to be a game that is hard hitting. I think it's going to be a game that is, like always when Denver and New England get in the playoffs, an instant classic.
Yeah, instant classic, and one of those that who makes more mistakes, Jarrett Stidham or Drake Maye? Honestly, we could sum it up as simple as that. And the Broncos lost their clutch factor without Bo Nix, because we don't know if Jarrett Stidham's clutch, and we can't sit here and say that he is. So don't be behind in the fourth quarter.
Right.
If you want to win. With Bo, you could do that. Hell, they did that all the time. All right, let's move on. NFC side of the bracket, Rams and Seattle, of course, knowing each other well.
Yeah.
Knowing what they want to do, knowing how to play and win in Seattle, and knowing that Matthew Stafford can be unconscious with Puka Nacua, with Devontae Adams. We'll look at the health status of everyone else. This game is same as it ever was, but also a game that I can't wait to see, because I don't know what's going to happen. We're sitting here live right now, and I'm like, do I pick Seattle or do I pick the Rams? I've been going back and forth all week long, Bloom.
Well, it's because these two games this year between these teams, and it was a collision course. We didn't know whether it was going to happen in the divisional round or in the conference championship round, but it's short. And the Bears had something to say about it, and the Panthers actually did too.
Yes.
But the Rams are tested now. And by the way, kudos to Dennis Allen. We don't do recaps, but Sean McVay said to Dennis Allen for the game, like, you kicked our ass. Sorry, Joe. I that's a feather in Dennis Allen's cap for sure. So can Mike McDonald and Seattle kick the Rams' ass? Well, they kind of did in the first game, but Seattle picked Sam Darnold off 4 times, and Sam Darnold had a chance to win that game at the end anyway. Also, they held him to like 4 field goals and wasn't able to. In the second game, Darnold had 2 of the worst interceptions you will see, but Rashid Shaheed had another, like last week, a punt return, a touchdown last week was kickoff return.
What an addition for them.
Right. And by the way, Ernest Jones and Leonard Williams also in season trades since Mike McDonald took over. So John Schneider, McDonald, alignment, even though he's from the previous regime, John Schneider, those in season trades, so important for this team. So, on the Rams side, we saw Matthew Stafford without Devontae Adams really carve up the Seattle defense, 450 yards in overtime. I don't even want to talk about fantasy football nightmares I have because I had him on my bench for that week. This isn't about me. This is about the NFC Championship. But Puka Nacua running free in the middle of the field. You add Devontae Adams. Tyler Higbee's back. Kyron Williams. See, we don't talk enough about Kyron Williams and how much of for an undersized back, he's physical and his endless energy, determination. This is a balanced offense, So Seattle, good against the run, good against the pass. They'll be tested. And I think that we know that Sam Darnold is more likely to be the reason that Seattle doesn't win. And Matthew Stafford is more likely to be the reason that the Rams do win.
Matthew Stafford, able to elevate. And then on the flip side, Bloom, let's look at it from the apophatic view. Is Sam Darnold the reason Seattle loses?
Right. And that's
or
the
is
thing.
Sam Darnold the reason the Seattle Seahawks win?
Yeah. See, I mean, you and we're crunchy. I can't help but think of a lot of these things in terms of journeys. What a journey for Sam Darnold. Do you remember in Minnesota, they were like lifting him up in the locker room last year? Like, oh, there's no way this team's not bringing him back, right? And then let's tie it back to fantasy football because I'm working on the What We Learned. It's going to come out next week. Football Guys, my What We Learned series. And I was actually thinking of it, kind of reverse engineering it. What preseason takes, because we love all of our preseason takes, preseason watch list, 20 years of the Audible. If you believed in Sam Darnold, you drafted Jackson Smith-Njigba. You might have stayed away from Justin Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? Like, believing in Sam Darnold might have been the most important thing to get right in fantasy football. Is it going to be the most important thing to get right in the playoffs? Because Seattle has his back. Okay, this team has his back. Even after he threw the 4 interceptions, even after remember this, these two teams met. And yes, the Zach Charbonnet call, the immaculate conversion, I don't even know what they call it because it's nothing like
picking up the ball in the end zone. That's what they call it.
Yeah. So, some things had to break. I mean, a lot of things had to break exactly Seattle's way. Ken Walker was tremendous. Zach Charbonnet's out with a torn ACL. I might see George Holani, Cam Akers in this game, but I think you're going to see Ken Walker touch the ball 25 times in this game. I do think the Rams I don't think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be as potentially as big of a factor as maybe Cooper Kupp, as Elijah Arroyo ready to play, AJ Barner. He had some big catches in that game. I don't necessarily think it's going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba, but that's where, and see, Clint Kubiak, we're talking about Clint Kubiak and what he's done, not as building this running game, but actually the passing game and the efficiency of the passing game. No worries about Darnold in the oblique last week. It's a non-story now, as we saw him 12 for 17 in a pretty easy game. That's the only worry I have for Seattle, is that the Rams have had their adrenaline coursing through their bodies for 2 games, like right down to the end. Like, they've had to make plays. They've had to face the mortality of their season, look it in the eye over and over and over again, and they're still standing. Seattle had a walk in the park. So that's the worry if you're Seattle. And that's a challenge for Mike Macdonald, who hasn't been in this situation from the psychological motivation standpoint. Because no matter what you think about this stage, you don't know until you're there whether it's going to make you shrink or make you grow. And that includes coaches. And I want to encourage everybody to look up Matt Waldman's seminal piece, The Great Emotional Divide, about this topic. He wrote it like 12, 13, 14 years ago, about that side, the emotional divide that we don't. And this is where it comes into play the most, not just with Sam Darnold, but a lot of players on this team that have not been this high on the mountain yet. So, and see, that's why, when we look at the AFC side, we're talking about Mike Vrabel, we're talking about Sean Payton. I mean, these guys have been there. Vrabel was a player many times, but Mike Macdonald comes from the John Harbaugh coaching tree. What do we associate with John Harbaugh in the playoffs? Has he learned? Seemed like Ben Johnson might have learned a little bit from the failures of the Lions with Dan Campbell. But Sean McVay, this is just another week of preparation. Yeah. Matthew Stafford, this is just another week of preparation.
Yep.
So, I'm glad we're getting this one again in the playoffs. It was going to be sad if we didn't.
Let me flip a coin.
Right?
I got the Rams.
Yeah.
I got the Rams. It's Sean versus Sean in the Super Bowl. So Rams get this one done. I don't feel very confident in either one of my picks, but those are my picks, and I'm sticking with Bloom. Who do you have?
Yeah, I just feel like for as great as Seattle's defense has been against Brock Purdy in two very important games, it was so easy for Matthew Stafford to pass against them in that game. And I don't know how you come up with answers that quickly when it was that bad. And I just think that because the Rams have had that adrenaline flowing, and because there's so much experience on the coaching staff, and there's so much experience at quarterback in these kinds of games, I think that's just going to radiate. And unless it is Rashid Shaheed, here's your recipe for Seattle to win: Rashid Shaheed, Kenneth Walker, big plays, maybe even like a defensive touchdown, or DeMarcus Lawrence getting a sack fumble. How did the Panthers beat the Rams in the regular season? Timely turnovers. But the thing is, the Seahawks are going to have to affirmatively make field flipping plays to win this game. The Rams just need to go out and play their game. That's why I got to pick the Rams.
Okay, Rams, Broncos, Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. Let's get it on, and let's see if they get there. Woo! All right, everyone, have a great football weekend. Bloom, was this season good for you too?
It was. Every one of these seasons is good, Cease, because it is always revealing about the stories, again, the journeys of franchises, of fan bases, of coaches, owners, and individual players. And you can find stories, again, the United States, the U.S. American great novel is now, I think, the NFL, among other things. And like a Dickensian novel, you can find a story in the NFL to reinforce whatever moral parable that you want to teach. And I love that this season gave us stories like Daniel Jones, right? Stories where everybody, even Sam Darnold, belief in self. See, I think if there's one thread that runs through all of these stories, it is that success is not possible without belief in self.
To the point of delusion, by the way.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself to the point of delusion. You have to believe it. You almost have to know it. It goes beyond faith. This is a large conversation. This is our spiritual fuel station. We're kicking off right here, Bloom.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that, everybody, this offseason. But like, it's belief beyond delusion. It's knowing you belong, knowing you can do this. Like you said about Sam Darnold.
And see, so I'm going to flip it too, because like we talked about, I've been reading a lot of Carl Jung, and I always misquote things. Like you'll know if an alien replicant has replaced me if I accurately quote everything. That's how you'll know. So I paraphrase, right? But there's a famous Jung quote, like, consciousness enters through the wound, Mm-hmm. And I think it's the struggle. It's like, did you learn from the mistake, or so for Sam Darnold, and I think that's it. And I think for New England, for Denver and New England, I think it's the wound. The wound is losing Bo Nix and how it affects the team and the mass consciousness of the team. Mm-hmm. But my point is, like, maybe Daniel Jones and the Achilles sets up the next chapter, right? Patrick Mahomes and so on. The story's always being written. What did that mean? What just happened? Well, let's tune in and find out. What did all this mean? We're going to tune in and find out.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do. He is Sigmund Bloom. I am Cecil Lammey here on the Audible. Check out footballguys.com. Free daily newsletter going on through the Super Bowl. And of course, we got plenty of off-season stuff for you as well. Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl coverage, even though I am not going to be there because I'm hanging out with the Broncos.
Yeah. Blame Sean Payton.
Blame all this winning. And the weather. Me and Mace were going to run down to Dallas for like a quick Saturday thing for just one day. And
they're closing Dallas.
Yeah, not with this weather. Yeah, closing Texas. So anyway, everyone stay safe out there. Have fun this weekend. Let us know. Drop a comment down below. Who do you got in the Super Bowl? Let's go. Whatever team you root for. And we are here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. and stay frosty.